Soul Snatcher 2020. A demonic entity is saved from death by a child, and after 500 years, fate brings them together again. The entity is forced to deceive the child in order to attain immortality. The film begins with a young entity playing near the edge of a mountain. Accidentally, it slips and almost falls to its death, but it manages to hold onto the edge. Just before it falls, a child appears and saves the entity. The child helps it climb back up, but unfortunately, the child also slips and ends up in the same place as the entity. However, the entity is unable to save the child, and the child falls and dies. The entity descends and sits beside the child, feeling extremely sad and crying. In a kingdom far from humans, there is a group of entities that can transform into humanoid beings. They gather near a magical cave protected by talismans and enchantments. However, one of them named Bei is forbidden from entering by their teacher, Koi. He is expelled, while the rest of his colleagues mock him. However, Bei manages to sneak into the cave to attend the meeting. In the gathering, the leader of the entity tribe, the White Entity, who possesses 9 tails, explains to everyone that human souls are nourished by the sun, the moon, and the elixir within them. The elixir can turn entities into immortals, granting them eternal life. However, gathering human souls is a challenging task that occurs at a specific time. It has always been the toughest and most crucial test for all entities. The higher the quality of the soul or the elixir, the stronger the entity becomes. There are a group of students who can obtain the elixir from humans. Among them, there is a student who has obtained a special type of elixir and transformed into an entity with 5 tails. As the number of tails increases, the entity becomes stronger. However, this transformation did not occur through honorable means, it involved deception and trickery. But the most important news is that the rare white elixir will appear next month. It only appears once every 1,000 years. If an entity manages to obtain this rare white soul and deceive humans, it will transform into the strongest entity ever with 9 tails. This is the dream of any entity in the tribe. At that moment, the students gather on stage to touch the sacred jewel to learn about their own destinies. However, the leader senses that something is wrong and tells them that someone is missing. As a result, the ceremony cannot proceed as planned. One of them should have the white soul within them. Then, Bei reveals his presence and tells them that he should be among them. He seeks permission from the leader and stands with the students. When he touches the jewel with them, it activates, but strangely, only his hand feels a pull, and he receives a symbol representing his own soul. This symbol allows him to search for the human who will steal the elixir from him. However, the symbol is incomplete and unusual. The leader understands that Bei has a high chance of death and may not succeed in his mission. When he realizes that Bei is determined to undergo the test, the leader gives him a legendary weapon that can kill monsters and demons, making his mission easier. Bei is overjoyed and begins his journey to search for the human. But before he leaves, he steals the leader's jewel, which will help him find the human. After leaving the cave, Koi tells the leader that he is worried about Bei because obtaining the rare white elixir is extremely difficult and has claimed the lives of many entities. He doubts that poor Bei will be able to succeed. However, the leader expresses confidence in Bei's abilities, believing that he will find the human and asks Koi to observe and take care of him. Bei happily runs through the forest, glad that he is no longer an outcast among the entities and has a good chance of obtaining the white soul and transitioning to the human world. The first thing he does is go to a grilled chicken restaurant and eats a large amount of food as if he hasn't eaten in years. In the same village, a kind person named Wang appears with his donkey, asking people if they have seen his brother, whom fate brought to Bei. Every time he asks Bei doesn't respond because he's too busy eating the chicken and doesn't want to be disturbed. This frustrates Wang, and he walks away. But in that moment, something strange happens. The jewel in Bei's pocket makes sounds and informs him that the human with his designated soul is very close to him. He gets up and walks through the village, searching for the person but not knowing who exactly it is, until the jewel tells him that the gathering is where he needs to go. However, this gathering is no ordinary one. There is a peculiar sorcerer who can create moving drawings, and if anyone touches them, they bleed. Through the blood, the sorcerer can heal a child in front of everyone, revealing that the figures in the drawings are trapped spirits. When Bei witnesses this, he becomes afraid and starts running. However, he stumbles and falls among the donkeys, and they start hitting him until he sees Wang's face in the midst of the donkeys, hitting him and carrying him away. Wang runs after them. But something strange happens. When the sorcerer sees Wang in front of him, he performs a gesture in the air, and his gesture throws him onto Wang's back without him noticing. In the end, the sorcerer throws the donkey into the forest, and they find themselves in a place resembling the academy, but it looks very strange and dilapidated. When they look behind, they see a gigantic frog. Bei is terrified and starts running, but the frog catches him with its tongue. At that moment, Bei appears and helps him. They try to escape, but the frog won't let them go. They manage to hold its tongue together and try to tie it. Eventually, with its tremendous strength, the frog manages to hit them multiple times. Suddenly, students appear in this place, but they are dressed strangely or controlled by dominating spirits. They try to hide from them, but Wang gets scared and starts screaming, running with Bei. Both of them are very afraid and terrified of this place, so they continue running until they reach the lake. However, they cannot cross it as it is frozen. Then the frog appears again and catches Bei and swallows him, while Wang runs away in fear. But the strange thing is that Bei emerges from inside the frog, who is actually the academy's director, and they both agree and become friends. From a distance, they hear the voice of Wang, so the director transforms again and swallows Bei. However, Wang has brought fire with him and manages to set the frog's tongue and body on fire, throwing Bei and sticking him to the wall. Then the frog faints. But the problem is that Bei also loses consciousness and loses control over his human form, revealing his demonic appearance. When Wang sees him, he is shocked. Then Koi appears and hits him, causing him to lose consciousness as well. He takes Bei and the frog, boards a boat, and shakes them, as what Bei did was a mistake and no one should take his place. Bei tells him that he can do anything for the white elixir, but Koi tells him that they are not sure yet if he is the desired person or not, and to be sure, they must take him to the city of Jiang. There, they can discover the color of his soul. When Wang wakes up, he is surprised to find himself on the boat and starts talking to Bei. Of course, he finds him alone after his friends jumped into the sea. But the surprising thing is that Bei reveals his true nature as a spirit player and tells him that Wang saved him 500 years ago when he was about to fall from a mountain. Wang is amazed because he doesn't remember anything since it happened in one of his past lives. And the strange thing is that he is not afraid of him, and then Bei begins to reveal his talents, abilities, and the incredible things he can do. They continue their journey on this incredible boat that the frog controls and is disguised as a donkey. Until they reach the city of Jiang, which is very big, magnificent, and astonishing, and Wang can't believe his eyes from its beauty. The first place they go to is a house full of beautiful girls, and one of them approaches Wang and tells him that someone is waiting for him. She walks ahead, and Wang follows her, thinking that his brother Duran is the one waiting. But they find themselves in another special place full of girls, and Koi disguises himself as one of them and tells Bei that in this place, there are spirits that can see the soul inside Wang, its type, and quality, and if it is the white soul or not. And Wang finds himself in a locked room with the beautiful spirit Lian. Of course, he remembers her from the human world, and she continues to dance and enchant him with her beauty and graceful movements. Every time she approaches him, she finds him kind and respectful, not willing to touch her. Until the moment comes when she tries to touch him and see his soul, but strangely, the talisman placed on him prevents her and throws her far away. And due to the power of the talisman, Lian keeps jumping from wall to wall until the talisman falls from the ceiling and she lands in a respectful posture, making her sit and cry. And Wang thinks she is upset, so he says beautiful words to her and gives her a gift, expressing his admiration to the extent that he wants to marry her. And it is also clear that she is interested in him and has a kind heart, leaving him to study for the exam and playing music for him. Outside the room, Bei sits and is very surprised that a human could refuse such beauty. When Wang falls asleep, Lian appears and talks to Bei, telling him that she couldn't reveal his soul. She takes him back to their boat to rest. And Bei thinks that if it wasn't for Wang's desired soul, they could have been very close friends. At the same time, Koi appears to Lian and tortures her with his power and magic because she couldn't accomplish her mission, holding the lotus flower that contains the soul of Lian and threatening her. The next day, Wang continues his journey to find Duran, but until now, he hasn't been able to find anything, and he is very sad because he will take the exam without his brother, afraid of failing. But Bei encourages him and tells him that he has studied well and will succeed. He also tells him that he is not a real demonic spirit and that he has an exam, which he may fail, but he doesn't have another chance. In the royal hall, the students who are taking the exam are being checked because many of them are trying to cheat by using cheat sheets, and those who are caught are being inflated. Wang and Bei receive the answer sheets along with dozens of other students, and Wang is very nervous and afraid. But Bei notices something strange, that there is someone passing through the door unnoticed, and no one pays attention. With the dawn of the new day, students start entering to take the exam. The exam supervisor shows them the questions they should answer, and of course, Bei is not interested at all and is eating. The supervisor is very surprised by his behavior. The exam turns out to be very difficult to the point that some people go crazy, seeing spirits. We reach midnight, and the students are still taking the exam, while Bei is still eating. But he notices that Lian came to check on Wang in her true form, without anyone seeing her. She goes to extract Bei's soul from his body and tells him that there is an evil spirit in the exam room that will kidnap a group of students' souls, including Wang. At that moment, he can take the white elixir from inside Wang after killing him. However, she asks him in return to help her obtain her lotus flower from Koi's hand and then leave him. Bei waits for the moment when Wang leaves his body, and we find his spirit standing among the students, finding the spirit of Duran sitting among them, taking the exam, and realizing that he is the evil spirit. He transforms into his true form and runs after Wang, but Bei defends him with the weapon he has, telling him that he must return to his body before it's too late. But Wang can't believe that Duran is dead, and when he returns to his body, he finds his appearance terrifying, so he gets scared and starts running. However, Duran stops them and creates a barrier of exam papers, trying to prevent him from returning to his body, trapping them inside a box made of papers. The words on the papers start moving to attack Wang, but Bei tries to protect him, but unfortunately, he can't because Duran's spirit is powerful, and he pulls Wang into a swirling vortex of ink. However, Bei forgets his mission and everything, and all that matters to them now is their friendship. He runs after him to save him and finds himself in a room full of trapped student souls that Duran imprisoned, and all of them attack him. Duran tries to pull the soul of his brother, but at the last moment, he remembers who he is and his true nature, that he was never an evil spirit, and that the one in front of him is his younger brother. He stops what he is doing. At the same time, when Duran weakens, the gem that Bei carries releases a powerful light that eliminates the evil spirits and sends the souls of the students back to their rightful place, including Duran, who, at the end, tells his brother to be wary of the spirit playing because he wants his special elixir. And both the souls of Bei and Wang return to their natural place in their bodies, and each of them remembers what happened in detail. After finishing the exam, Wang thanks Bei for saving him and his soul, but we find that Bei is sad because the gem, which is considered a treasure by his tribe, was destroyed to save them. At that moment, Wang remembers his brother's words and asks Bei about the elixir of the soul, but Bei cannot answer him. The surprise is that Wang tells him that if the elixir is important to him, he can give it to him, but his only wish is Lian, whose story was very difficult after being kidnapped by humans and sold to brothels. She couldn't bear it and threw herself into the river, but she was very angry, so she transformed into a ghost, and her soul remained inside the lotus flower, consuming the hearts and blood of humans to stay beautiful. Wang knows all this and knows that the one who truly loves her can bring her soul back. In front of Wang's insistence, Bei cannot stop him and finds him wearing new clothes as he approaches Lian, bringing her an engagement gift and telling her that he truly loves her and it doesn't matter to him if she is a ghost. Because she is also fond of him, she cannot agree and throw him into this dark fate, but he tells her words that shake the mountains and insists on marrying her, even if she dies for her sake. Despite her holding back her tears, she accepts the engagement gift from him. All of this is heard by Bei and Koi, and at that moment, Lian tells him that she will resign and take Wang and escape. Bei hits Koi on his head, causing him to lose consciousness, and he also escapes and stands in front of them. But Lian tells him that Bei wants to exploit the engagement ceremony to steal his elixir and attacks him without hesitation, defending her lover. And Wang still defends him because he is sure that he is his friend, and he tells her that if he wants to take the elixir, he doesn't mind, but she tells him that if he takes it, he will die. She continues her attack on Bei, who still insists that he never wants to harm him and asks her to listen to him, but she doesn't give him a chance. Until Wang pleads with her to let him go and not to kill him, she reluctantly listens to him and lets him go. Suddenly, the frog comes from behind her and stabs her, but it saves Bei by sacrificing itself. However, it surprises Bei what the frog did, and he didn't want that to happen. At that moment, Lian takes Wang and they escape with their last breath until they reach the river, where she is severely injured and ultimately dies due to her serious injury. She falls into his arms, asking for forgiveness and thanking him for his love for her, and that she only saw kindness and tenderness from him. Lian transforms into light and flies with the wind, leaving him crying and devastated after losing the one he loved. Bei stands beside them, watching sadly, and he realizes that Wang is deeply affected. He accuses himself of being the reason for all of this after considering him a friend, and now he doesn't want anything, and all he wishes for is death. He tells him that he can take his elixir if he wants, as he no longer cares about anything. But Bei tells him that he doesn't want anything from him because he is his dearest friend in the world, and they continue arguing until Bei takes his weapon and prepares to stab himself to prove that he doesn't want anything from him. But suddenly, a gate opens and pulls Bei to the tribe leader and Koi. The leader tells him that 500 years ago when Wang saved him, he was very sad and his tears fell and became planted in his soul, becoming the elixir inside him. Therefore, he is the only one who can harvest it, and that is his destiny. And we know that Wang's destiny is always failure, and none of them can escape their fate. Yes, it's difficult, but it is a test that he must pass to take the elixir and solve all his problems and truly play. Meanwhile, Wang walks in the forest, and Bei appears and asks him to forgive him after everything he has done to him, and that he did all of this just for the elixir, but he won't lie to him again. He asks each of them to go their own way. But Wang tells him that he is indeed his dearest friend, and after everything that happened in Lian's death, he doesn't want to continue in his life and asks him to take the elixir as a gift and live forever. Wang takes out the knife, stabs himself, and gives him the elixir with his own hands. But the problem is that it turns out to be Koi and the real Bei, who arrive and discover what he has done and that he wants to steal the white elixir for himself. When Bei sees his friend dead, he throws himself on the ground next to him, full of anger, and Koi tells him that it turned out to be black elixir inside him, not worth all of this. But Bei doesn't let him walk away easily and takes his weapon, chasing him to kill him, and they engage in a battle where Koi tries to use his great power. When Bei uses his power and hits him several times, destroying his face, we find that Koi transforms into a terrifying black giant with 7 tails, and of course, his power is very frightening. He grabs Bei and tortures him, breaking his bones until he falls to the ground next to the elixir of Wang. Suddenly, Koi uses his tail and kills him. In his last moments of life, he remembers every sweet moment he spent with his friend Wang as he looks at him while he is dead. He decides to avenge him and touches his elixir, which suddenly turns white and emits a very powerful light that reaches the sky, and from it, a tremendous energy descends into Bei. He transforms into a gigantic white monster with 9 tails, possessing extraordinary power that Koi cannot withstand, and he takes every blow until he finally runs away. But Bei moves with incredible speed and grabs him by the neck to kill him. However, he remembers Wang's words and that he wants to be a protective monster and defend people. He decides to let Koi go and not to kill him, but he takes advantage of the opportunity and runs away. After a while, we find that Wang wakes up, and this is very strange to him. He gets up, takes what he needs, and walks back home, not understanding what brought him here. He feels like he has forgotten many things from his recent period. One day, while he is in the forest, he finds a small wounded monster, so he takes it and takes care of it. He decides to name it Bei. In that moment, he remembers everything that happened and that after Bei acquired his power, no one in the monster world can continue or live without his friend. So he wishes from the sky to give up all his power in exchange for his friend's return to life. And his wish is fulfilled as he transforms into a small monster, but Wang forgets everything about him, which hurts him the most. However, fate brings them together again, and their friendship will continue anew, and they will live together.